Hey everyone, it's Wednesday evening, very late Wednesday. Notice I just did the 30-second video. I want to get in and out of here, but I did promise I would do a Facebook Live update. We're going to jump right into it. For those that jump in a little bit later, you can watch the replay, but here's what we've got. There's no doubt there's going to be some energy moving in. In fact, tomorrow afternoon into the evening, I bumped up the rain chances just a little bit. You can see that development that starts to pop up, and that's going to be late evening into the early, basically early to late evening hours. So there's a little bit of thunderstorm potential. It's a quick moving wave of energy. Typically, what I say is the day before a big severe weather event, it's a system strong enough, it'll produce unexpected precipitation. So we're already accounting for that. Now, as we move into our 7 o'clock in the morning time frame, this is when things start to ramp up pretty dramatically. Notice everything's pretty quiet at 7 a.m., but as you'll see, there's thunderstorms that are erupting to the west. Josh Weisel saying the 18Z helicity tracks looks interesting. Absolutely, they do look interesting. I've got it loaded. I'll show you that. And by the way, I don't know if you got my message, Josh, that I sent to the Texas Tech WRF people, but I thought that was interesting as well because I was wanting some updates and maybe some advancements to their website. Here's a look at the thunderstorms that start popping up. So 9 o'clock in the morning, this is when things will start getting a little bit turbulent. Now, this is the graph model. I'll show you the HRRR, but this is the very latest graph model. Notice how a lot of the storm activity remains to the south and east of Benton County. So we're still not quite certain exactly where the storm development will be, but we do know this, that late morning into the early afternoon is going to be that time window. Now, notice as the energy moves through, that could be an isolated supercell that will very much have the potential to produce severe weather. Tornado potential, notice the southwesterly wind. Now, here's my personal feeling on this. If you've got southwesterly winds at the surface, and you got a northeasterly storm motion, that doesn't really line up for the shear vector and streamwise vorticity being ingested into the storm. Basically, to put it in layman's terms, the storm motion isn't going to line up with the horizontal spin that's on the ground. It's not paralleling that. So the tornado potential, while it's possible, might be limited. That's what I'm hoping for. You could see, though, additional storms popping up. Now, the caveat to this is if it slows down a little bit, which, by the way, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's still showing storms now in eastern sections of northwest Arkansas. So that is a little slower than what it originally was. Friday night is going to be very breezy as that system comes through. We're looking at some pretty strong winds behind that system. So that is the latest with the graph model. Let me show you the latest on the HRRR as I'll look for it here. Stand by. Okay, here's the HRRR model. Once again, it shows thunderstorms popping up during the early evening tomorrow, and I'll give you the reasoning behind that. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of rain with this, TJ. And there might be a little bit more stratiform precipitation behind it, but I think that doesn't develop until it gets farther east of us. So as you'll see here, a little bit of isolated storm activity, probably not going to hit Bella Vista, in my opinion, for tomorrow evening. Now, that's just a little weak wave of energy that swings through. Notice, though, that it still shows that storm potential popping up. Now, on Friday, you can see that in the morning, again, 7 o'clock in the morning, people will be like, oh, there's no problem, no severe weather. But then watch what happens. Right around 9, 10 o'clock, those storms rapidly develop. Now, the HRRR 3 kilometer is pretty much in line with the Texas Tech WRF, which I'll show you here in just a second, right after this. And you're going to notice more thunderstorm activity popping up. Now, this does move out pretty quick, and I think once the first wave comes through, that's pretty much going to be the end of it, and then the system moves out. So that's what we're kind of expecting with that model. Now, as we take a look at the Texas Tech WRF, this is a great model that sometimes predicts storms better than the HRRR. So here's a look at the Texas Tech WRF. This is the latest run. Actually, let me go to current run. Make sure it is on the current run. Okay, it is. So here's a little bit of pop-up activity that develops during the afternoon, evening tomorrow. We've got that accounted for in the 7-day. Then we got the thunderstorms popping up. Notice how quick that develops. This is going to blossom, and there's going to be a lot of instability, and that moisture will be racing northward. So this, by the way, is 8 o'clock in the morning. Here's 9. Here's 10. So this one shows a lot more storm activity developing. And then you can see more storms popping up. Now, this is kind of more linear. So the Texas Tech WRF has more linear development. With that being said, if the shear vector, if the 0 to 3 kilometer bulk shear vector is oriented this way, which it looks like it will, that's going to be line parallel, not line normal, but line parallel to what we're seeing with this line. So that means maybe the QLCS potential will be less. Regardless, storms are still possible. Damaging winds will also be a possibility. Then you can see that storm kind of racing out ahead of the system. So let's look at real quick for this, the 0 to 3 kilometer, 0 to 6 kilometer bulk shear. Let's look at the Cape here. Oh, it just started loading the new run. So that's why it doesn't show anything. Not a lot of 0 to 3 kilometer Cape. Let's look at the significant tornado parameter. So you can see that ramping up tomorrow evening to our west pretty dramatically. So there'll probably be some storms and even severe weather in Oklahoma. Now, notice that's Friday morning. That starts nudging in, and then it kind of decreases pretty dramatically, but still sticks around in the river valley. So it's going to be a wait and see how this all evolves and how this develops. Updraft helicity, as Josh was mentioning, there's some updraft helicity tracks that are going right through Fayetteville and through the Washington County area, also one through Benton County as well. Now, keep in mind, this model sometimes goes kind of crazy on these updraft helicity tracks. Josh, I think you can attest to that. But definitely some spin in the atmosphere. There is going to be a pretty strong system, and there's definitely some spin in the atmosphere that we got to watch. And so what we're watching is this major energy that's off to the west. Let me show you this real quick. And here's a look at the water vapor, big upper level spin. Jonathan, I see your comment. I'll get to that here in just a second. Maybe slowing down a little bit. You can definitely see the center of the low is still off the coast. However, the kicker system is beginning to move in. And then what's going to happen is that's going to kick east. So that's going to happen. Now, here's a look. By the way, I want to go back to this because sometimes the devil's in the details, right? Here's the system right here. This is a short wave that's coming up. And there's going to be little pieces of energy that the models really struggle with, honestly. In fact, this is much stronger than what it shows. And as that lifts northward, there's that piece of energy that's going to fire off some thunderstorms that are going to develop across northwest Arkansas. Once that moves out, here comes the rest of the energy. Now, as you can see, the bulk of the energy will no doubt be in Missouri as well as Iowa. Illinois, this shortwave right here could provide some thunderstorms. What you're looking at here is called a vorticity map. So the vorticity is the amount of spin in the atmosphere. The brighter the colors, the whites, the blues, those are stronger spins. And this is a very intense system. So we got short waves and then we got kind of a long wave trough. This is definitely a lot of energy. Now, after that moves out, the storms are over. And by the way, just to let you know, the storms are ahead of this system, not right on top of it. So if we were to look at the precipitation, it's out ahead of it. So this is called positive vorticity advection. Then you can see another wave of energy that swings in. This will bring probably some storms for Sunday, not Saturday, but Sunday. It'll be mainly late Sunday night. Then look, here comes another big dip in the jet stream, another massive one, more energy swinging in. These embedded short waves won't be handled perfectly with the models, but we do know that storm potential will be ramping up. So here's a look at that wave of energy. I don't like the looks of that. That's definitely got some interesting things for storm potential. Then, as the next wave comes in, a lot more energy moving in, and we're still on the nose of this jet. So there could be some storms on Tuesday. And if we look at, again, the severe weather risk, just to let you know, here's the risk for day one. It'll be updated here in about less than a couple hours. Here's a look at the risk increasing for Friday. Remember, this goes from 7 a.m. Friday to 7 a.m. Saturday. So when we look at the wide view, this extends quite a bit to the ways to the east. Now, remember that It doesn't look like we're in the major risk, but we are in the risk. So you can't let your guard down completely. Case in point, it was exactly 1 year ago tomorrow morning that the Springdale tornado came through. That was a very bad morning on March 30th. And so that can happen. Now, I don't see the exact same conditions as the Springdale tornado. There was a lot more low level wind shear. The winds were straight out of the south. These winds are going to be coming from the southwest. So not everything lines up perfectly, but there's that risk. Now, when we look at the timing, we're almost done here with the spiel. Notice the morning lows will be climbing overnight tonight and into the morning tomorrow. We drop down into the mid 40s, but as you can see, those storm chances really start to ramp up and they get up to 80, 90%. Aaron says, I remember that morning well. Gave me a new roof. Absolutely. So here's a look at the graph model. You already saw it. If you didn't, catch the replay because we show it right at the beginning. Here is the day 7 risk outlook. This, by the way, is Tuesday into Wednesday. Look at the large area for that. Remember the dip in the jet stream. So let's look at the 7-day forecast. If you missed it, here's a breakdown of it. So tomorrow, there's the isolated storm activity. I went 30% just because I think there will be some development. And we got more kind of clouds, but not really storms until middle of the day. Many severe, strong southwesterly winds. Winds will crank up out of the northwest. We got a big temperature drop behind that system. Then we warm up dramatically. We have a lot of instability for Monday into Tuesday. I'll show you that. Tuesday night into Wednesday, potential for severe weather. Honestly, the tornado potential could be very real. And then in the River Valley, storm chances as well. Still that 30% risk as well. Just to let you know, too, if we look at the instability, this is for next week. So let me give you an idea of what we've got for Friday. A little bit of storm activity kind of popping up, and see the instability. It kind of bumps up a little bit, but then it races to the east. Now, next week, look at the instability that comes back for Tuesday and into Tuesday, Wednesday. This is clearly a large area and a lot of instability. We haven't seen colors like this in a long time if you watch these Facebook Lives. Definitely a lot of fuel for Baja blasts right there. And then you can see by Wednesday that system shifts to the east and the instability finally clears out. But Tuesday next week looks like it could be, in fact, trouble. All right, let's get back to some comments. Sorry, Jonathan. Hey, when do you think I can start planting the garden? Middle of April. I would not wait until middle of April because behind this next system Tuesday will probably be some cold air and we'll probably get down to a freeze. But middle of April is usually our last average freeze. What about just across the state line, west of Lincoln, Westville, Oklahoma? Very much real tornado potential, Kim. You'll be watching that close because the ingredients are definitely in place for tornado potential. In fact, if we look at, and this isn't just the end all be all of tornado risk forecasting, but it gives you an idea that things will definitely start dramatically increasing for Friday. So watch this data load. Here's Friday, and you'll notice kind of a bullseye right over eastern Oklahoma, right in your area, Kim. Then it kind of weakens, drops off, then it ramps back up. So there's definitely going to be some tornado potential if the storms can move in a motion that's favorable for severe weather potential. So we're going to be watching that. We're going to be keeping an eye on that close. 80s, but 80s are going to come with a price. So going to try to get into power washing tomorrow. The worst will be well east of northwest Arkansas. Yes, but it doesn't mean that we're out of the risk completely, because I can't stress that enough. Even though we're not in the entire risk, if you look at the probabilistic outlook, you'll see that definitely the worst of it is to our east. Make sure to fuel up on those Baja blasts. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yikes. Thanks. Yep. We'll watch that and we'll keep an eye on it. So a lot of ingredients are coming together. Low-level winds, the moisture, the instability, the dew points, they're racing back to the north. In fact, if you want to see that, check this out. This is an absolute dramatic surge in moisture for tomorrow and tomorrow night. You can see that racing northward, and by Thursday night into Friday morning, see those dew points getting into the lower 60s. This data still has to load. Let me do one that's already loaded. Here's one that's already loaded. So here's the moisture surge overnight tonight, tomorrow morning. It's off to our west. That's why the risk is mainly out in Oklahoma. And then you can see those dew points making it all the way into Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri. But look, we've got the darker green. This is the first time, I think, this entire season that we've had that moisture returning that far north. So 65 dew points on a Friday midday is not good, folks. That is a lot of fuel for these thunderstorms. So it's going to be something to watch for sure. You guys are welcome, Blaze. Keep slowing down. We'll be right back in the middle of the thick of it for Friday. Yep. I'm disappointed you didn't break out the skew tea. Well, I just kind of want to get home here. It's been a long day. I really haven't even had much of a dinner at all. This is what I had, a little protein bar, because I was doing a research for the University of Oklahoma and SIMS, the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Mesoscale Studies. And not only that, but also with National Severe Storms Laboratory. And they were doing a bunch of cool stuff with the November 4th severe weather event. So here's my question. I know that was a while ago. While I'm looking up some photographs, because you're right, I should show some photographs. Let's go ahead and we'll load some data here. I got to load up the latest soundings. Get profiles. Moderate risk. Yeah. I think the amount of storms are going to be a moderate risk. I don't know if it's going to include us. I think that risk is going to shift a little bit to the west, though. Yeah. Guess I'm going to go to work with my husband so I'm not alone Friday. I know. That's the thing. It's right in the middle of the day, too. It's the middle of the day, so we're going to be watching that close. What was I saying here? Busy fellow. All right, Aaron, I'll show you a couple skew teas. All right, so this is, as you can see, we're loading the data. Actually, you can't see that, but you can now. We're loading the data, getting those skew teas loaded. Profile list complete. And here, follow me over here, camera. All right. So here's what we got. I'm in the dark, but you get the idea. All right. So first of all, this isn't going to be the long range HRRR, so you're not going to really see. By the way, mid-level clouds, you can tell because right here you got mid-level cloudiness. Let's bring up the wrap, and we'll look at Fayetteville, because if you'll notice, I'm going on the map and I'm clicking. These are all the sites that I have loaded. So here's the map for Fayetteville. We'll go back to our hodograph. We'll load up some of the data. And this doesn't obviously go out far enough, but it does show that little bit of rain. See how that comes together? And there is a little bit of mid-level instability right there. Not much, but a little bit, where we could get a little bit of CAPE, which could lead to some thunderstorm activity. No tornado potential because there's no surface-based instability. All right, let's look at the NAM. And the NAM and then we'll look at the NAM nest. So here's the little bit of rain that pops up for Thursday evening, perhaps some thunderstorms, because there is, even though it doesn't show it, there is some elevated instability right there. A little bit of a cap, though, too. We'll see if that rings true. So now we got an inversion. That's going to start to warm. There's a loaded gun. So loaded gun sounding for 9 a.m. And then there's the energy. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. The instability is kind of lacking. Now, keep in mind, this is the NAM 20 kilometer, not the 3 kilometer NAM. But you'll notice here, we definitely have a deep boundary layer. We have a lot of moisture, but we also have a Cape robber where that line juts off to the right. This yellow line is your parcel process curve. And also look at how the shear, originally it's a perfect critical angle. You got a straight line photograph up to about a third of a kilometer, so 0.3 kilometers. Then you can see right here that the storm motions will be northeast. But watch what happens over time. That wind starts to veer, meaning it goes to the southwest. It's turning clockwise with height. That's called a veering profile. So when you have an angle that's less than 90 degrees right here, that will lead to less tornado potential. And also the instability is just kind of lacking. And then the storm system comes through. Now here we have an opportunity for storms. And this is right around 3, 4 o'clock. So this is where a thunderstorm at approximately 2,900 feet will be going all the way up to the top of the atmosphere, not necessarily the tropopause, but the top of the equilibrium level. So your anvils of these storms might be up to 29,000 feet. Not a tremendous amount of instability, but definitely a couple hours of opportunity for storms and storm development. Now let's look at the NAM nest. Here's a look at the NAM nest, and you can see definitely an inversion, which is capping. So thunderstorms probably not developing except for ice elevated ones. Those will be hail potential. Once again, that low-level shear veers because of the system moving through. And right there, that's some pretty good instability, but there is a little bit of a Cape robber right down here where you can see the red line to the right of that yellow line. And then as we move along in time, the shear weakens and the storm potential drops off. So I'm not going to go gung-ho on the tornado potential. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not ideal. Now, it is ideal initially. Right here, that's a really impressive critical angle for Thursday night. So here's what's going to be interesting. You're going to see a lot of parameters. When you look at indices, look at the helicity, 647. For those that know about helicity, you're going, that's an incredible amount of storm relative helicity, and that's an incredible amount of shear. But then you look at the Cape, there's absolutely no Cape. There's no instability. There is a lot of shear, but the ingredients haven't developed yet. Now, if we go a little farther east, let's see what happens. Let's go to Harrison. This gives a little more time for that instability to return. Let's see if we have a better shear vector. And the answer is, yeah, we kind of do. We still have that lack of instability. And remember, this is just a model. This isn't exactly what's going to happen, but it kind of gives you an idea. If we look at the GFS, let's see what the GFS has. So it also shows a capping inversion, and then it shows a little bit of instability. Now watch what happens with the system on Tuesday. So Tuesday, you can see how skinny this Cape is. That's the area in between the red line and the yellow line. But as we move along on Tuesday, watch what happens. That is going to, it's not going to make it. Let's see if I can. There we go. Now we can make it. So now look at this amount of instability right here. That's a lot more. See, the area between the red line and the yellow line is a lot larger. This is Wednesday, by the way, so it doesn't have any storms for Tuesday. It has a big capping inversion, so we might be totally capped. Now, this is a pretty impressive profile. This is what we call a loaded gun. If there's energy, then this would be tornado potential right here because you have a lot of instability. You have a very impressive critical angle, streamwise vorticity being ingested into the updraft. You've got pretty high LFC. The LFC is up there about 10,000 feet. But if we can get rid of that inversion, cool the temperatures aloft somehow, then that would fire off thunderstorms. So there's a lot of uncertainty. This is why the uncertainty comes into play with all of the computer models. So there you go. Let's see if anybody is even around here. Hey, 62 people. Did that make any sense to you guys? Jeff's saying he'll stay for the 8 ball. Well, if you're still on here, let's do the 8 ball. Let's see what happens here. We haven't gotten the 8-ball out in a while. Where are you, 8-ball? Aha. It's had a rest. Uh-oh. Is this busted? Nope. Thought someone sabotaged the 8-ball. All right. Let's see. If it's west of y'all. Uh-oh. It looks like it locked up just in time. Shoot. Well, that's it. You aren't going to hear it. You're not going to see it, but and I can't see the comments either. Boy, that I don't like how that locks up. We got to figure that out. That's the third time that happened now. So anyways, let's see. Are there going to be tornadoes in Northwest Arkansas Friday morning? Let's just get right to it. Friday late morning into the afternoon, tornadoes in Arkansas. Very doubtful. There you go. Is there going to be severe weather? And severe weather reports. Turns of damaging winds in Northwest Arkansas. And it says it is decidedly so. So there you go. The 8-ball has spoken. See you guys later. I locked up, so I can't do anything. But have a good one. Can you guys still hear me? I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. It looked like everything locked up, but you're saying the video was fine, so it could have just been the connection. And so that's good to know that all we got to do is close the connection and then bring it back up. So, Kylie, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. All right, it's 11:30. I'm going to have a long couple of nights ahead of me for this week and next week, and more severe weather and a heavy rain event potentially late next week. So a lot going on. But until then, for the 8-ball and Zach Gilday will be in tomorrow with helping me out finally for the first time in a week and a half. We will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your night. God bless and take care.